Well, first I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm standing here beside Elijah McClain, Elijah's mom, as well as a number of friends and family and members of the community who you'll hear from a little bit later. First, I want to say this. Thank you to everybody who came. You are a testament to the fact that Aurora's attempt to hide by the secrecy of a surprise Friday night closed-door press conference does not work in this community. This community knows better, and this community is not going to be tricked or have the truth hidden from it by a surprise late-night meeting. So shame on you, Aurora, for trying to pull one over on the community. We won't take it. Now everybody is here because we are here to speak out, and we won't be fooled by that. It's no coincidence that the Aurora Police Department decided to hold a surprise late night meeting on a Friday. That's exactly what people do when they know they've done something wrong and they're trying to avoid accountability. And that's what the Aurora Police Department is doing right now. But we're going to hold the Aurora Police Department accountable, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Now, we've seen all kinds of ways that they won't hold themselves accountable, and I don't know about you, but it was kind of hard to live stream that report last night. It certainly wasn't designed for so-called transparency. They can keep saying the word over and over as if they mean it, but reality, actions speak louder than words, and there's not one transparent thing about the way that the Aurora Police Department is going about this. That was not one bit transparent, but we did come away with a few very clear messages. One of them is Aurora apparently does not think that there was anything wrong with going up to a young man who was not accused of a crime. He was not accused of doing anything wrong. At worst, he was just a little odd, enjoying his music, swinging his arms as he walked down the street in a ski mask. Well, that's not illegal, but apparently here in Aurora, the police department thinks that there was nothing wrong with immediately going hands-on, grabbing him, throwing him to a wall, and then throwing him onto the ground, where they proceeded to do not one, but two carotid chokeholds on him, where they used multiple and different kinds of uses of physical force over the course of about 15 minutes, continued to hold him down as he was vomiting, as he was begging, as he was moaning, as he was pleading. But Aurora doesn't think that's problematic. We did hear one minor concession from Aurora's police chief last night. He was a little embarrassed by one of the few things that actually was caught on video despite their best efforts, and that was one of Aurora's own police officers threatening to bring in a dog to attack Elijah McClain as he lay on the ground vomiting, fully restrained with handcuffs behind his back and officers on his body, and they threatened to bring in a dog to bite him because he wasn't holding still enough. Now, Aurora's police chief said that was unprofessional. Unprofessional? Are you kidding me? That's beyond unprofessional. That is the indicator of a department that believes that brutality and sadism are just a matter of course. If that's unprofessional and that's all, then this department has lost its way entirely. Now, another thing that the Aurora police chief said was that he owed the family an apology for that unprofessionalism. Damn right he does, but I've not heard that apology, and I don't think anybody else here has either. Now, saying you owe somebody an apology is a whole lot different than actually apologizing. But an apology is not enough here. What we need is true accountability for a system that is apparently designed to avoid that. Now, one thing we didn't hear adequately explained last night is just how it is that all of the on-scene officers who were physically involved in bringing down Elijah McClain when he had done nothing wrong, how all of them managed to miraculously shed their body cameras so that you as a community do not have an opportunity to see what really happened. Now, that just doesn't happen by accident, and it's not just me saying that, there is evidence of it. And we know that because later in the video, somebody does pick up a body camera, and what do we hear one of the officers say? "Move your camera, dude." because they don't want to be caught. They don't want to be held accountable. And the reason they don't want to be held accountable is that by doing things like shedding their body cameras, they're able to make up their own narrative. They're able to say all kinds of things and pretend that they happened. We all know about police officers who use the phrase "stop resisting" as nobody's resisting at all. We've all seen it. And in this case, what do we hear? We hear an officer say after the fact, "He tried to grab your gun." But don't you think that if somebody really were reaching for a gun, officers would be yelling, "Hey, watch out"? We didn't hear anything like that. We don't hear any of the kind of urgency that you would hear if Elijah were truly grabbing for someone's gun. It just did not happen. Let's not have the Aurora Police Department throw down their cameras and try to convince you that a pacifist who is laying on the ground saying he's a vegetarian, saying he doesn't even kill flies, somehow would be grabbing for a gun. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, it's slanderous, it's hurtful, and it is a lie. Let's talk about some other lies. Another set of lies comes out in the district attorney's report. And again, this is a report that was very obviously done in a way that was designed to hide from you, the public. That report was never even sent to me or any member of the family. I had to get it from the media because it's not available on any public website. That's what people do when they are hiding and when they are trying to avoid accountability because they know they're wrong. And what the district attorney's report does is it uses a false legal standard. What it does is it pretends that Elijah McClain was being stopped under suspicion of having committed some crime. But there was no suspicion. There was no suspicion. He had done nothing wrong. Let's go back to the 911 call. And what's conspicuously omitted from the district attorney's report is the fact that the 911 caller explicitly said, "No, I don't believe there's been any crime. No, I don't think that he has a weapon. No, I'm not in danger, and I don't think anybody else is in danger." But do those things find their way into the district attorney's report? No, they don't. What else doesn't find its way into the district attorney's report? He's carrying a plastic bag full of iced tea because he's walking home from a convenience store. Now, the district attorney might try to pretend that there's something dangerous about a young black man who has the audacity to go to the local convenience store and buy a bag of iced tea, but that's not a crime, and a young man carrying a bag of iced tea does not mean he's armed or he's going to commit some sort of crime. In fact, Elijah not only was not suspected of committing a crime, he had never committed any crime. He had a perfectly clean criminal record. That doesn't find its way into the district attorney's report either, does it? In fact, you got to dig somewhere through that report. Finally, you get to the part where it says, of course, as we all know, Elijah McClain had no weapon because he was just a young guy going home, having some iced tea. You know, this is emblematic of a system that will not take responsibility, will not accept accountability for its own wrongdoing, hides under the secrecy of late night surprise press conferences, closed door by invitation only. District attorney didn't show up at all, didn't publicize the report, didn't give her a copy of the report to the family. And here we are reading through it and seeing all the things that aren't in it. It gives an erroneous estimate of Elijah's body size. Elijah was a small guy. The amount of ketamine that he was given is not an amount that was appropriate for a young man of his size, I'm told by doctors who know more about that sort of thing than I do. But that doesn't find its way into the report. What does the district attorney do instead? He pretends he's about 2/3 larger than he actually is to make it sound like there's nothing wrong with that. The district attorney's report also omits the fact that Elijah is laying on the ground, literally begging. He's moaning, he's pleading, he's crying, he's saying, "It hurts, it hurts. I can't breathe." He's saying all of those things. We don't see that in the district attorney's report. We don't hear a thing about pleading. We don't hear a thing about a young man dying before their very eyes. But we're not here to plead today. We are here to demand justice.
That's right. That's right.
As a community, we are standing here demanding accountability from the Aurora Police Department, from the Adams County District Attorney's Office, and we will settle for nothing less. Enough is enough. I'm going to bring up some community members, and first, of course, the most important person here, Elijah McClain's mom, Shanine. All right, we're going to hold on that. All right, instead, we're going to have a few words from Pastor Hughes. He's speaking on behalf of the Colorado Poor People's Movement, as well as the Colorado Denver Metro Area Ministerial Alliance.
It's a sad day. It's a sad day as you see even Elijah's mom can't even bring the words, the pain that she's experiencing. But the pain that this whole community is experiencing is we can't hide the fact that race plays a factor in this murder. Yes. You can say accident if you want to, but this was a murder. And we are demanding accountability. There's no way that the family was not notified about the meeting last night, about the findings from the DA. There's a total disrespect and disregard for his life. Elijah lived, and he lived a good life. He was not a criminal. Yet he was accosted, slammed to the ground, and murdered as if he was trying to commit a crime or escape from a crime. How is it in America that a person can be carrying their ID, walking from the store, minding their own business, not even accused of anything, be handled by the police, hands on, slammed to the ground, and their every cry not even be considered? How does it happen here in America? What happens here in Aurora often, too often. And it's time for accountability to happen. Accountability for Aurora is what we're demanding. Accountability for Elijah's murderers is what we're demanding. It's time for us to no longer take the words of our officials that they didn't really mean it. I heard Chief Metz last night say, I've been in tussles when my cameras come off or other people's cameras come off. Well, I think there's probably a statistical anomaly for all three cameras to come off. Right. Who do you think we are, City of Aurora, to believe all three cameras came off unintentionally? He said, we're going to look for some other methods for securing the cameras. Let's look at some other methods to ensure that your police officers do not turn their cameras off or take them off. It's time to make that a crime. It's time to make that a crime. If you turn off your recorder, if you take off your recorder, then those officers should be held accountable. It's time for us to demand these kinds of actions, or else we'll just keep having the same old thing. We're tired of this, Aurora. We're tired of this, and we're not going to take it. We're demanding you to come to the table. We're demanding changes, and we're demanding these officers be prosecuted.
Yes.
Prosecuted. Prosecuted. We're demanding they be prosecuted. You can't tell me there was no violations even of their own rules and regulations. If so, then you need a redoing of all your rules and regulations. It's time for accountability to happen here in Aurora, and it starts today.
Yes. Thank you, Pastor. Now I'd like to bring up April Jones. This is one of Elijah's friends and former clients who's here to say a few words. Oh, actually, you want to? Okay. April Jones.
Oh, Young.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm April Young. Sorry. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out here, especially everybody behind me. Anybody that knew Elijah McClain knew that he was one of a kind. He was a very unique individual. He made it his goal to always make you smile before he left the room, whether it was words of encouragement, uplifting words, or just his goofiness just to make you laugh. Last night, the community was shaken when the district attorney came up with the verdict. And it was just a cheap tactic to do it on a Friday night at 3:45 for it to air at 7 p.m. They're at home right now enjoying family and friends, the luxury of life, which we don't have that now. A mother is missing their son, sisters don't have a brother, and the community no longer has a staple. Last night, when they aired the 30 minutes of the police interaction, they said that was footage in its entirety. If you actually go to Aurora Police Department's YouTube channel, you will see 3-hour body cam footage from beginning to end. Last night, they only showed one body cam, so they made it extremely easy to sway the narrative and to put in false narrative. Elijah McClain, when you look at the body cam, they rolled up on him. They just ran up and immediately told him to stop right there. And then 2 other officers jumped in. Can you imagine just walking home, singing and dancing, and all these cops just swarm you and tell you to stop, and within seconds you're on the ground, right? And we couldn't see the torture, but you could hear it. And if you heard him screaming, "Please stop. I can't breathe. That hurts. I didn't do anything." Like, you won't ever forget that. He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve to die. He didn't do anything. We have a problem in America, and it's the same problem that we have in Aurora. Why is it that black people can't even exist? It's not a crime for a black person to attend to their medical condition and wear a ski mask. It's not a crime for a black person to go to a convenience store. It's not a crime to walk home being black. So why did this happen? When other officers showed up on the scene, immediately they started to fabricate the story, saying for 30 seconds they were trying to get him to calm down and he was restraining arrest. When you watch the footage, that's just not the case. They said that he tried to grab an officer's gun. Not once did you hear an officer say, "He's trying to grab my weapon." We know for a fact that if Elijah didn't die, he'd be sitting in jail right now on a multitude of charges because they have to fabricate it to justify the beating that they gave him. He's laying on the ground. He's getting beaten. He has knees buried into his back. He's crying, asking for help. And you hear one officer with this humorous tone saying, "If you're going to throw up, just don't throw up on me." How is that even funny? Like, when did we stop caring about humanity? When did we stop caring about each other? When did it become okay that the people of trust are all of a sudden the gang members? I spoke to Dave Young week 7 of Elijah's murder. And the only way I got him on the phone was calling him persistently. By the 3rd day I called, I said, if I don't get a call back, I'm bringing all media crews up there. He called me back within 5 minutes. So we're up here right now and we're demanding justice, right? We're saying we're going to get justice, we're going to get justice. Well, I already found his weak spot. All the people that are here right now, if we were to show up there, I bet you we would get answers. We're not going to stop fighting until we get justice for Elijah. This is exactly why we need a third-party oversight committee.
Yes. Yes.
And to Elijah's family and Miss McClain, we love you and we're fighting with you to the very end, and you are not alone. So, thank you.
All right, I want to have you all spread some love to Shanine. You can see that this situation is absolutely overwhelming for her, as it would be for any mother. Honestly, I can't even think about it without wanting to cry myself.
I'll say something.
Okay.
I don't want to be here. And I don't know anybody that is alive that would want to be in my position. Death is not the cure. We are the cure. If we don't change this, regardless of color, regardless of spiritual beliefs, we're going to end up right here. And if it don't stop with the black people, who's next? Who's next? This has to end with all of us. Stop being divided over whatever your situation is. That never solves anything. What is divided will never stand. So let's get ourselves together and do something to make some real shit happen. And I did just cuss.
I know you all have a lot of questions, and I want to open up this discussion to questions. Is there anybody who wants to start it off?
Mari, can I say something
Of
before
course.
you do?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Candace Bailey. I am a member of the Aurora community. I was born and raised in Aurora. I went to Smoky Hill High School. I know Elijah McClain. Sadly, I know many other people behind me. And I'm not going to take apart everything that has happened with APD. The fake video with their scrub on everything, their swing, their plot, their ploy. I will not do that. What I will say is, here in America, we are in the place and the space where everything is in our face. They are murdering us in our face. They are publishing it on TVs. This is not new. We are not reinventing a wheel. We are watching our children be murdered again. This is not new. This is not new. And so all this shock and awe, I want you to know Elijah McClain is the new Emmett Till. You better wake up. You better wake up. When I saw his picture on the Aurora Sentinel, that is the first thing that came to me. We have done this before. This time we better have an outcome that means something. Do you understand? This is for our children, our children's children. The moment that the city of Aurora started closing doors on us in our space where we provide them a space, we said, we want you here to represent us. They failed us. They failed us. We must recall every one of them. We must get them off of every seat in this building that authorizes death to our bodies, to our children. We have a responsibility to our children, We will not be here to see the outcome of every moment of this. We will not. But while we are here, we better do everything. Falk, you do not house anything that our community houses as a grounds for morals, for character. We do not believe in injecting our children and our citizens with drugs that are used on animals. We do not believe in that here in the great city of Aurora. We do not. We want Falk out. Aurora, stop making contracts with killers. They're killing us. That lady bent over and she put that vial behind his ear. How many of you have ever been shot behind the ear? Anybody? Can someone raise their hand? Anyone? I didn't think so. Now, just because the APD did not put that syringe in the back of his neck, who had their knee in his back, holding him still, just because you don't deliver the bullet, you did it too. Every one of you is an accomplice to murder, We are not asking anymore. We will now infiltrate our building. This is our community. We are going to get every contract severed. Every one of them. We are coming for you. We are coming. We will not rest. Elijah McClain did not die in vain. Everyone that the city of Aurora has killed did not die in vain. You will say their name. You will say their name.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain!
Say his name.
Elijah McClain!
Say his name.
Elijah McClain!
No justice.
No peace!
No racist.
Police!
No justice.
No peace!
No racist.
Police!
Murderers! 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 You gotta believe they're murderers? Say it with me! Murderers! 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 And enough is enough!
You all hear a lot of passion here. Aurora can do its late night, Friday night surprise hiding meeting. That doesn't keep this community down. So I want you all to feel free to ask your questions. I know there are many who have been calling me, and I've been saying wait till we get here in public with the community to speak out on its own behalf too.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Since the city in Adams County declined to press charges, is there any way to bring federal charges against these police officers?
Well, very theoretically, I suppose there is. I'll tell you, with this administration, am I going to hold my breath waiting for that? No. I'm not. But what there is we've got a civil justice system. We've got the United States Constitution, which prohibits the use of excessive force, and we are going to take action to make sure that Elijah is not forgotten and that justice is secured for him.
What kind of action will you be taking? Any legal action moving forward?
Yes, we are, of course, now investigating as Aurora finally is making public the video and is finally releasing it. As many of you know, the family had an opportunity to view the video while being watched one time very quickly, and not all of the video. And so this is the first time that we've got access to the video that's been released on YouTube. I don't actually believe that it's all of the video. I believe that it's been presented in a way that is designed to make it difficult to go through, but we will have an opportunity to see all of that. And my full expectation is that we will be bringing a federal civil rights lawsuit to secure justice for Elijah.
Yes.
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 Attorney General Phil Weiser just hosted a press conference a few days ago about the rise in hate crimes in this state. Has his office or anyone associated reached out to you about this case and about the potential for a hate crimes prosecution?
We have not heard one word from Phil Weiser's office, although I think we ought to. This is a hate crime. You know, this could happen to anybody, but it does not happen to everybody. And there is a reason for that. If I were walking down the street swinging my arms and listening to music with a ski mask on, would I have been tackled by the police? Would I have been subjected to a carotid chokehold twice? Would I have been tortured over the course of 15 minutes? Would all of this have happened? Of course not. Of course not. And we know that this isn't just sort of anecdotal. We've got statistics from the Aurora Police Department, which shows that even though African Americans comprise about 16% of Aurora's population, more than half of the uses of force are inflicted on African Americans. Why is that? Why is that? It is straight up racism. There's no way about it. And so I appreciate those who don't want to make this all about race, because we are all in this together. We're all in this together, and it is about race. Something must be done. Aurora must be held accountable.
When you think about the climate of transparency and process here in Aurora, can you, each time I see a case like this, it's like pulling teeth to figure out the process of where you get information, how information is released, and then when we talk about the normal kind of ways that this takes place, in the midst of this Elijah McClain tragedy, members of the city council showed up in Blue Lives Matter shirts.
That's right.
And I think that is kind of saying something about process, something about expectations. Can you speak about seeking justice in the midst of an administration that has already shown that they're going to stand with whatever story is presented?
Yes. Well, of course, one of the ways that we can all make a difference is in the ballot box. But we don't get another chance for that for a little while. But we certainly are all responsible to vote in lawmakers who we know actually represent us and don't simply participate in the cover-up. But standing here now, we have other opportunities. There's an opportunity now for introduction of statewide laws that will make a difference. And I think that we should be talking with our state lawmakers about a number of such things. One of them should be a requirement that body camera footage is released in a timely and transparent manner and is done in a way that allows the community to know what's happening. We also need to have statewide legislation that requires a truly independent investigation in the context of every single use of force that results in death. Every single one, because we know the police cannot police themselves and they cannot police their friends. Unless it is a truly independent body that does those investigations, we as a community can never have faith. I know that there are lawmakers, including Leslie Herod, Representative Herod was working on that, and others, and we absolutely should be not just encouraging that, but demanding that.
Since we know that the Aurora Police are probably one of the most racist police departments in the nation right now, and they lie incessantly, what is the conversation, like Big T said, around making it a felony for these officers to remove or turn off their body
I think this question highlights one of the things that is so problematic about this district attorney's decision letter. Not only does it use a false legal standard to say that none of the officers should be held responsible for their abuse of Elijah McClain, not only does it only address the initial takedown, but not any of the next 15 minutes of torture against him, but it is 100% silent on the fact that all of the involved officers somehow shed their body cameras, and then it is clear that they did it on purpose by the fact that when one of the body cameras was picked up by somebody else, they say, "Move your camera, dude." That is a crime. That is called tampering with evidence. But it was not, but there's been no indictment for that either. That's because Aurora police officers know that they will not be held accountable, and so they simply do this time and time again until we as a community demand that they will be held accountable.
Matt said he wanted the case to undergo a tactical review with outside people coming in. Do you think that's something that's very necessary? Do you have faith maybe that could bring some justice? Something could change from that?
I heard that Chief Metz said that there was going to be both a use of force review and a tactical review. I can tell you, having read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Aurora's use of force reviews, I have absolutely zero faith that it will come up with anything that is meaningful. My guess is that they will say that the officer who threatened to bring in a dog to bite a vomiting man who was fully restrained and begging for his life was unprofessional. But maybe they'll prove me wrong. In fact, I challenge them right now to prove me wrong. Let's see it. Let's see a meaningful use of force review. Let's see a meaningful independent review. Prove me wrong and do it right now. I will be surprised, but prove me wrong.
Add a community co-chair. We need someone from our community who sits on that board in Denver. We have done it. We have implemented community co-chairs. We need someone from our community. We need community oversight. This is our community. We have to have community oversight. It's blueprinted in Denver. Thank you, Dr. Lisa Calderon, Candy Citabaca. We can duplicate the process, get a community chair in here who knows what's happening. We need a voice from our community that sits in this process. We need a community panel that talks about this every single week and has some input in this community, in the city of Aurora. We are the community. We are not sleeping at night. We are policing our own children's behaviors because we can't trust that they will come home alive. Alive.
Councilwoman Nicole Johnston has called for an independent oversight kind of body that would look over issues like this. How would that play and how would that have teeth moving forward?
I appreciate that question, particularly because what we see is people hold up Denver's Office of the so-called Independent Monitor and the community board that oversees that as some sort of indication that things are perfect. Well, let me just tell you, they're not. I respect the people who tried to put that in place, but in some regards, in many regards, I think that having the illusion that there is somebody either independent or actually doing much is worse than as if it weren't there at all. And I'm not blaming the particular independent monitor we have. It's not Nick Mitchell's fault. It is a toothless office and it is designed that way. It is an office that is appointed by the mayor. The oversight board is also appointed by the mayor. It's designed so that it creates the illusion that there is some kind of oversight with no true ability to actually do anything. Even when the Office of the Independent Monitor in Denver is so outraged that he actually makes a recommendation, it's then up to the city to choose to follow it or not follow it. And he can do not one single thing about it. And in fact, if he tried to do anything stronger, my guess is he would get removed from his position. But he can't anyway, because the municipal code that places him there, the charter, doesn't allow him any true power. So if there's going to be some sort of independent monitoring or oversight or community oversight board in Aurora, I pray that it is something that is actually meaningful, has true oversight capabilities, has actual power to do anything at all besides simply making recommendations that will never be followed.
We actually have something going on right now.
On Tuesday at 6:30 at Restoration Christian Fellowship, there is actually going to be an opportunity for us to create an oversight committee that has teeth. that we've looked and we've researched other models across the nation that are actually getting things done, but the community is invited to have input and make sure that everything that we want and we need is developed, that it has teeth, that the recommendations aren't just recommendations that you can just throw away, that things have to happen, that the use of force curriculum that's taught in the academy is adjusted, and that every time that something like this happens, the community gets a say. So the community is invited at 6:30 at Restoration Christian Fellowship to come to that meeting and get your voices heard and participate in actually making a warranted and impactful change.
I want to introduce Pastor May. He's representing the Ministerial Alliance here in Aurora.
I want to say something. I don't want us to lose focus. Oversight and review is needed, but oversight, review is not going to bring Elijah back to the dinner table tonight. That's after the fact. This has to stop.
Yes.
And it's not going to stop just because we review it after it happens. It's going to stop when we investigate it and we prosecute the officers involved.
Yes.
So I don't want this to shift to review and oversight. I want to stay focused. Elijah is gone, and there's nothing we can do to bring him back. But those who perpetrated this murder need to be prosecuted. They need to be held accountable.
Yes.
We'll worry about the oversight, the review, all of that later. But right now, we have a mother that no longer has her son. We have a community no longer has a citizen, a resident that was valuable to us. He may not have meant much to the police department, but he means something to us. He's ours. Now, I'm black. I'm African American. So he means something to me as a person. He's a young man. I have a young son. I wanted this to stop. I don't want you to kill my son and then review it. I don't want you to kill my son and then have an oversight committee decide whether you killed him justifiably or not. That's not the point. The focus is we've got to take those officers out of their position. I want to know where they are right now.
Working.
Are they sitting at desks? Are they still getting paid?
Yes.
That's where we need to focus, because the police department needs to be held accountable. The district attorney's office needs to be held accountable, and we can't do it if we just focus on reviewing it after they do it. We need action, and you know when we need it? We need it now. We need to hear it now. I want to see the police chief, I want to see the district attorney stand before these people, not in a closed door meeting. Stand before us. You work for us. That's what we need, and we need to really stay focused, because this mother goes home at night, every night, trying to sleep without her son on the face of the earth any longer. That needs to be answered. People need to be held accountable. The anger, the emotion you see here today is about one young man that is at the end of several young men that have been murdered under this jurisdiction of Aurora, Colorado.
That's right.
I'm a native of Colorado. You know what my father told me? When I was raised, he says, stay out of Aurora. That should not be. Our city needs to understand that the white man is the minority now. We're going to stand and we're going to be there every time they open their eyes, because we're not going to stop. I know they think this will calm down later. I encourage everyone here to stay here. Stay in their face. Stay in their ear. Don't stop until change is made. We've got to have change. And the change is right now with the officers. How many know the officers' names? How many know where the officers are right now?
They're working. They were put back on the street.
They're still making money. Those same type of officers that calls us porch monkeys are still working for the Aurora Police Department. It didn't just start with Elijah. It's been going on for a long time. We've just been quiet too long. We're not going to be quiet any longer. No more. It's not going to happen again.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it?
Right now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Right now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
I want to thank you all for coming out today. This is obviously very, very important. We're not going away.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.
Say his name.
Elijah McClain.